Payments are evolving faster than ever. Regulations, fintech disruption, and new technologies are shaping the way businesses and consumer transact. Welcome back to this week's episode of The Executive, the show where we navigate the intricate world of executive leadership, exploring strategies, insights, and personal stories of successful professionals shaping the global business landscape. I'm your host, Majid, and today I am standing at Intercontinental Berlin at the Merchant Payment Ecosystem 2025. In this episode, the goal is I bring to you some of the insights, what I learned from this conference, and also talk to a few different guests who are attending the conference, get their insights of what they think is happening in the payments. For those unfamiliar, MPE is one of the largest payment events in Europe for payment professionals, fintechs, and banks. This is where industry's biggest players come together to discuss innovation, regulations, and the future of the industry. Why is this important right now? Why do we need to talk about payments? Because we are seeing rapid changes in payments. AI is transforming fraud prevention. Digital wallets are becoming normal, and real-time payments are shaping the industry. And businesses that don't adapt will get left behind. So what's next? That's exactly what we are going to explore today. Now we are sitting with Ugnė, who is the group CEO of Payabl. Let's understand what does Payabl do.
Okay, we do a lot of things in the payment space. In general, we work with merchants and clients to facilitate payment processing, banking, acquiring, issuing, or any other financial needs that they might have.
Okay. What's the reason? Why are you here on this conference?
We attend a lot of conferences and we exhibit on a lot of conferences, but the reason why we're in MPE because it's one of the main events for the payments industry, and we have a good caliber of people to meet here in terms of clients, partnerships, and also our providers as well. So it's a great place to meet, and you have everyone under one roof.
And today morning, when you were on the stage in the panel discussion, you touched briefly about the trends going on in the whole industry. I think it's also important that we get these trends out to the other people who are not in the industry, because they also need to understand. Because one thing I noticed, I come from also I worked in fintech, and then I switched out of fintech. So I see normal people don't understand the effort, the work that goes behind in the whole payment, preventing fraud and so on. So what do you think are the trends that you see in the next 2 years or so?
Look, I think the trends are the same, but I think also what we discussed in the panel, yes, okay, AI is exciting, and we have a lot of movement in that, and there are definitely use cases that will be relevant for the future. But I think ultimately what you will see in the next 2 years, and especially for the consumer side, you will not see any big, huge changes. What we're effectively doing now is we're improving the same infrastructures that have been there for many years, and we're just making sure that they work better. Some mandates come into play, like instant payments rolling out in October for banks to accept them as well. So it's not going to be anything extraordinary. It will be just hopefully better and smoother checkout experiences in general, payment flows for clients. And I do agree that there should be more education around it. But I think what ultimately matters for the end consumer is this is secure, safe payment to make, and it's not complex. And that's all they should really be taking care about. It's the regulators and the other participants that should make sure that it's regulated and that the industry follows the standards.
And also with regulations like data protection, right? I think it also plays a very important role. That was also something you mentioned, the panel mentioned, right? About the whole making sure that your identity is protected, not that with AI, yes, the payment providers get an edge, but so do hackers and so on, right?
Yes, there's two aspects of it, because as we mentioned in the panel, that data is not equal to all data. So the specific type of data that the payment providers hold on the customers really what you need to hold in order to make that transaction. Also, it is secure because all of the payment service providers are PCI DSS secure, so we store the data on our clients safely and securely. But I think it's more to do if you move out to extending what type of information you hold on the client, then you're venturing out into certain issues and, let's say, regulatory matters where you have to be careful.
Cool. So that was very insightful. Thank you so much, Ugnė.
Thank you so much.
now we have David. He's the global ambassador of FEAM and Consult Hyperion. Let's quickly ask, what do these guys do?
Sure. Well, Consult Hyperion is the consulting arm of FEAM, and we specialize in advising clients on exploiting new technologies in 3 areas, really, which all to do with secure transactions. So payments, identity, mobility.
And how do you consult? Like, what kind of consulting do you offer to these guys? Like,
Oh, I mean, we do the full spectrum. We go from the sort of whiteboard, the cloud, how are we going to use contactless to change the way we get people on buses, all the way through to the design and implementation. We don't build the systems. We design and we come up with the test strategies and then we test them. These are all systems for the mass market. Our expertise is in population scale solutions.
oh, cool. That's interesting. And what brings you to the conference? I mean, to the MPE?
Well, actually, MPE is one of our favorite conferences because we do a lot of work in payments. Actually, a lot of it's to do with identity as well now, as well as you'd have seen. And I think that the way that MPE works, the atmosphere they have for MPE is real learning. I mean, the people here are, they're not beginners. So you'll probably have seen the audience is quite expert. So the amount of learning that goes on is great. I love MPE. I think it's a fantastic event.
That's true. I mean, I used to work in Fintech, so I also am connecting with the old connections of a whole the fraud prevention, risk management, and so on.
Right.
And it's very interesting, right? But at the same page, we have these people who are outside, who are non-fintech, non-payment people who basically just swipe a card, like tap a card, and they don't know that there's a huge process that goes behind. And thanks to companies like yours, basically, which make the process seamless, right?
I think, we want to achieve 2 things. Like, we want the system to be secure. There's no point if we can't make it secure. It doesn't. But that security can't get in the way of convenience. And I think we have a lot of expertise in how to make that happen.
And now, because we are also learning, like I was in the panel in the morning, you touched upon it as well, about the whole trends and so on, what's happening now, what's going to happen in the next year. So what do you think are the trends that's happening, and what should the normal people expect? Because the experts know what's happening in the payment field, right?
Well, you probably did, from the panel this morning, you would have heard, there's probably kind of 3 areas to focus on. So the first is AI. I mean, whichever part of the business you're in, there's no doubt AI is the dominant technology. And it's also kind of interesting because you don't quite know how it's going to work out. So trying to work out what to do with AI is the first thing. I think if you look at the numbers, stable coins are really interesting. If you look at the volumes, stable coins are going up and up, and they're beginning to have an impact on the mainstream. So seeing how that's going to develop, I think, is really interesting. And the other thing that was touched on is the whole kind of account to account, the direct credit transfer. That, as that moves into the mainstream as well, you begin to see a slight change in the way. I don't want to say normal people, that doesn't sound right, but the normal person in the street who doesn't really care about payments is going to start paying by bank. And so those are probably the 3 that are worth thinking about at the moment.
Any last remark for the general audience? Because we have experts, you probably talk to a lot of them. So any last remarks for the audience?
I would say if you work in a business, you need to start thinking about what happens when your customers become AIs instead of people. Because very few businesses have a strategy for customers becoming 100 times smarter overnight. And I'm fascinated by this and what it means for business.
That's a very deep message to small, medium businesses, because small businesses also could learn from experts, right? But
a lot of the things that you do, if you could just have an AI do it for you, so there's one thing to say, well, okay, I'm going to get an AI to book a holiday and all this kind of thing. But when it's the AI that's booking and paying for the holiday, so the hotel's customer, the airline's customer, the travel agent's customer is an AI. How do you market to an AI? How do you sell to an AI? I mean, I just think it's so interesting to understand how this is all going to work.
I mean, yeah, that introduces a new machine-to-machine economy, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
I mean, that's the whole. It's a whole new sphere. So let's look forward towards it. But thank you so much for the valuable insights.
No, thank you for the questions. It was interesting.
It was really interesting. Thank you. Now we have Guy, who's the Chief Revenue Officer at Tribe Payments. Let's listen to him. What does Tribe Payments do?
Majid, nice to meet you. Tribe Payments, we're a specialist technology provider. Across the payments industry, we provide a range of solutions covering issuer processing, acquirer processing, which we also deliver across both card and non-card rails. So anybody who wants to issue or acquire transactions, then we're the people to come and talk to.
Cool. And Tribe Payments is big, right?
Yeah, we're 240 employees across Europe. Now we've got 150 developers in Lithuania, offices in London, Moldova, and a small office in Singapore.
Oh, that's cool. Singapore. That's a pretty cool location. What brings you to the MPE?
So we work with a number of acquirers and PayFacs today. MPE is a great event for us to come and meet with our clients and meet prospective clients.
That's cool. That's cool. Would love to understand from your perspective, because you are building the technology. So what are you seeing in terms of trends? Because, for example, in the morning, we heard a lot about AI and stuff, right? So what do you see are the real trends that you really need to build, or you are building something,
Look, I think when you boil it down, our business is about enabling people to make payments, to take payments, and to move value. That sounds very straightforward. Behind that sits a whole plethora of complexity, fragmentation, different markets with different regulations, all of those good things. So our job is to really take that complexity away and to make it easy for our customers to configure and deliver propositions to their customers and enrich their end user journeys by embedding payments into that. So, making our technology agile, so it can be quickly adapted to meet specific set of requirements, making it easy to integrate with through a simple API layer, all those things are vitally important.
That's also the beauty in payments, right? They make it so simple that if you want to connect to an API, it's much simpler than a lot of APIs in other industries as well. But thank you so much. That was truly helpful. Thank you. Hey there, now we have Nikhita from Signifyd. She's the General Manager for EMEA. Let's listen to what does Signifyd do.
Hey, so Signifyd are a global e-commerce fraud and abuse prevention platform. So we work with merchants from all over the world, helping protect them against fraud and abuse.
So when I talked to her first, she did a very good job of explaining what is, fraud, everyone knows what fraud, but what is abuse prevention, right?
E-commerce, as you know, has evolved over the years, and the fraud landscape has also evolved. So traditionally, we're all familiar with things like stolen cards or any kind of like the traditional fraud when it comes to card payments. But now when we're looking at abuse and we're looking at protecting retailers, protecting e-commerce merchants, it's looking at the full customer journey. So everything from account creation through to the checkout and then post-checkout. So with the returns and the returns abuse. So the big thing at the moment in terms of abuse is returns and refund abuse. Customers, instead of sending back a pair of trainers or sneakers, they send back an empty box full of stones.
Oh, geez. I heard they were claiming that they never got the parcel, like the friendly fraud.
Yes, exactly. The friendly fraud stuff. That's what we would count as abuse.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But stones is a new example for me. I never heard of stones.
Or bricks or something. Or they just say they don't send back the goods that they say they're sending. And one of the big things, especially in the retail space, that we find when we're speaking to our customers and the customers that we're speaking with, the merchants that we're speaking with, the returns is a massive issue, and it's growing, and it's trying to find a solution, because at the end of the day, with e-commerce, a big part of the customer journey, for you and I, when we buy things online, we want to get multiple items, try them on, see how they are, and then send back the things that we don't want, right? Having a friction-free returns experience is becoming more and more important, and an ability to get your refund as well is becoming important. And for retailers, they're building that into their strategy. Like, how can they give an immediate refund to their good customers? How can they create a bit of friction for the ones that don't have the best track record when it comes to returns?
No, that's true. We are living in an age where there's so much information that we need to give a good experience.
Yeah.
And also with ChatGPT, it's like a lot of stuff is being like pushing through very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think we need to differentiate definitely between the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like I know I read an example from the dating world.
Yeah.
What they do is they actually see a fraudster, they put another fraudster in front.
Yeah.
So basically,
They
it's a,
matchmake with
yeah,
fraudsters.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like a fraudster is trying to scam another fraudster, which I find hilarious.
Exactly. Exactly.
But now talking about the conference MPE, what brings you here? Like what's the reason?
So fraud is part of the payments ecosystem, right? Fraud and abuse prevention. We are part of this ecosystem. So this is a great show for us to be at. It's also, we see a lot of merchants here, a lot of partners. So I see loads of people. I mean, I've been in the payments and fraud world for quite a few years now. So it's nice like to be here and see peers, colleagues, and also our existing customers who attend the show, and also other kind of prospects that we're speaking to as well.
And also, I think there is this other side as well, right, where people are not aware, like normal people, not people who work in the industry.
Yeah.
So that's why podcasts like mine actually want to introduce like concepts, like, it's not that you just swipe a card, you put your whichever credit card you have. There is a whole logic which basically runs like this.
Exactly.
Which runs systems like yours, like other fraud preventions, does like risk checks, device fingerprinting.
Exactly. And one of the big things about Signifyd is, so we're a Gen 3 fraud protection provider. We're the third generation, so we're tech-led. We are led by data. So we have machine learning models. All the data feeds into it, data from our existing customers, but also from third parties. We enrich the data. And in doing that, we're really able to make extremely accurate real-time decisions, unlike other traditional fraud protection providers.
Cool. And what kind of trends are you seeing, especially considering fraud and abuse?
I think it's the abuse. The non-fraud chargebacks are increasing. So that is the big trend we're seeing. And also Visa are changing the scheme rules whereby non-fraud chargebacks are also going to count towards the total chargebacks that you can have. So with the introduction of that, this is a big shift in the industry. And as a result, online merchants now have to protect themselves more than ever before for this new type of fraud, which is called abuse, and they really need to protect themselves. And that is going to be like the big, that's what we're hearing people talking about. How can we protect ourselves against fraud and abuse, particularly these non-fraudulent chargebacks?
Cool. I mean, it's also for people that they need to stay diligent, like the consumers must stay diligent. But with that,
the consumers must stay diligent. They need to, as always, they need to be diligent. But also, merchants need to be aware of this as well, because they should also protect themselves, protect their good customers, and just make sure that any kind of fraudsters are being blocked.
Cool. No, that was valuable insight. Thank you so much, Nikhita. It was a pleasure. Now we have Jürgen, VP Biz Dev from Risk Ident. Let's first hear what Risk Ident does.
Well, Risk Ident is a solution provider in the fraud prevention industry. So basically, we're catching the bad guys by using the technology and analyzing the transactions, which basically come from online order processing. So we work for merchants, telcos, mobility service, basically anything you can order online. And we check if it's you. And if not, someone else is using your identity.
It's like Risk Ident is one of those solutions that is playing a very important role in the whole fraud prevention. But the normal consumer doesn't even imagine that when they enter their credit card information, it's like it's immediately checked by Risk Ident or someone like that, and it says that okay, this guy is not stealing information, but it's legit. So it happens so quickly, and I think it's also important that we tell the people who are not working in the fintech industry that there is this technology also hidden behind that you don't know about, but there's a lot of complexity behind. It's not just like a tap of a card, not just credit card entering, even though the experience is seamless, right?
It is seamless. It has to be seamless, yeah, because you don't want to get disturbed when you do an online purchase. So, valid question. It is not more about like if you enter your payment or whatever. It's more like when you put on your data in an e-commerce process. Yeah. So then our technology with AI, rule set based engines, and even device fingerprinting, which tells you which device is using the person, makes a combination of all those transactional analytics in order to figure out, like, is this a transaction coming from this person or is it looking like fraudulent? Yeah, because fraudulent patterns are involved, especially like in the morning, early in the morning, 4 o'clock. Usually this is the time where fraudsters like to do the business and stuff like that. Is there a big distance between the shipping address and the address you're ordering from and so on? And this is all calibrated and collaborated within this machine learning engine, you can say, or the Frida. Frida is our fraud management system tool, and then gives you a score, yeah, a risk score, which lets you know, just like lights in the traffic light, is it red, yellow, or green? Yeah, and if it's a red one, then you can say like, well, I'm not going to take this transaction. If it's a yellow one, then there's a human agent who's looking into it and checking just based on the gut feeling. Because the perfect match is always for the technology and the human who's doing manual reviews. So in order to check that.
True. I mean, you still make it sound very easy. I mean,
It is.
I mean,
It is somehow.
it is like the whole machine
Technology.
learning. Yeah, it is. I mean, but when you look at the whole tech actual part, right? There is device fingerprinting. There is so much more. Like you're able to decide like so quickly about someone if it is really them or no.
Yeah, but we do not. Very nice question. We do not decide, right?
Yeah.
Our aim is and our goal is to give the best risk score back to the merchants or to our customers, so that they can take their decisions, so that they either can do further approvals, yeah, by give me your ID card, let's check if the banking account really is your account and stuff like that, in order to see like if this transaction is valid. But we are just giving back the sharpest risk score that enables you to take a quick decision. Yeah, if you want to take it as for granted, yeah, this transaction, or if you say like, well, it looks a little bit unusual, yeah, might be not the person who is saying he seems to be the person, might be a fraudster who is using your identity. Yeah,
True. And what brings you to the largest MPE, like the largest payment conference? Actually,
well, as you said, the largest. It's the largest payment conference, and payments are always a matter of fraud as well, since many merchants are here, and it's basically always on the conference, like getting a touch and feeling about the market needs. Yeah, so what's really what they're interested in, our merchants and our customers, meeting clients, of course, meeting people and partners from all over the world. Yeah, which is easy to meet up here in Berlin since they're there. So it's a mixture of all of them, getting knowledge and also meeting clients and new prospects for course.
I mean, that's the beauty of payment. When I was working in payment, when I talked to a competitor, they didn't hide info. They would actually share info.
Yeah.
Like, this is what's happening, because at the end of the day, both of the companies have a similar goal, that we want to protect the consumer, right? That we don't want their IDs are stolen, their credit cards are stolen.
Exactly.
So this is what
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're doing. Yeah, we protect your identity so that you don't get any fraudulent activities. And that, for example, you will get some paper from a company say like, hey, pay your bill. Yeah, and you say like, well, why shall I pay my bill? I never ever ordered. Yeah. So it's also a combination of that our customers don't want you getting annoyed by pay your bills, where you say like, well, what's this kind of company? Yeah, it's not good for their reputation either. And it's been done in milliseconds, as you said. And it's a really, really nice business, because we really try to protect your identity and catch the bad guys.
And my final question, what do you see as like a trend in the whole fraud prevention, like happening right now in the next year, 1 or 2, or maybe the long run?
Well, as you probably heard many times before, it's about AI, right? So AI is the new one, which makes it even better to get a sharper risk score back based on all the information which is capable and already well, in all these web shops included and whatever, and to find their common patterns where we as experts say then, okay, this is fraudulent activity. So AI certainly is the next step. And it goes more and more. Another one is shifting, not only catching the bad guys, but more or less even on a more valid basis and in real time figuring out, is it a good customer? Yeah. So where are our good customers? Yeah. And are they good? And can we check it just like this and probably put some marketing efforts in there or give them extra limits if you think about payments so that they can buy even more because they like our brand.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's also a good perception. I mean, you become like also an enabler, revenue driving, right? So you
Exactly.
That's a cool approach.
And the customer journey, and making it really, really easy that your online order goes through with a little tips and clicks, and also that the payment can be fulfilled very quickly, and that you don't need extra charges and extra changes, no, not changes, checks to see like if the payment is valid and if it works as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, Jürgen.
You're welcome. Thank you for your time.
Right now, I'm standing with Shi, who is the global D2C lead at Versuni. He's basically leading the whole fraud and risk. But let's hear from him what he actually does.
Yeah. Thank you, Majid. I'm from Shi from Versuni, which formerly known as Philips Domestic Appliance. We produce and sell air fryers, coffee machine, and all of those home appliances. And I am responsible for the direct-to-consumer payment and fraud there. So. And we are our mission is about turning houses into homes.
I mean, that's cool, but let's quickly first explain because I think not everyone understands what direct to customer means and also what is fraud and risk. What are you doing exactly?
Yeah. Direct to consumer is the basically we are selling online business direct to our individual consumers there, and I'm responsible for those owned website sales and also our app channel sales. For all of those sales, the payment and fraud decisions, I'm in charge.
Oh, cool. That's really cool. And we are right now standing at MPE. So what brings you here?
I think because for us, we are pretty new in this payment and fraud area, and for me, the best benefit, like the conference, which is the merchant payment ecosystem, more emphasizes on the merchant, where a lot of merchants are there, so that I can really share and discuss with merchants what is the common challenges, how do they solve the same issues on the payment side, what are the struggles that they face, could be a future risk for me to be alert with. So this is the most important part, but also to gaining from all the, let's say, industry leaders what kind of solutions they have, what are the new technology innovation pipeline in their minds. Those are the very let's say the fun parts. Yeah.
I mean, and we see right now it's a lot of talks about AI. I mean, in the panel also in the morning, they were talking a lot about AI and so on.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing from your perspective as the trends like that are happening in the fraud and risk sector right now?
I think for what we do see already happening is that in customer service area, they use a lot of chatbots in AI. And the benefit is that you reduce the manual contact for a lot of frequent asked questions. But the downside we see more recently is that a lot of fraudsters trying to abuse a goodwill voucher, apology voucher, or let's say refund claims. These things, abusing these by knowing choosing what kind of the prompts we preset in the chatbot, and then get the certain discount level for their benefits there. So this is a very typical trend that we've already observed.
I mean, also for fraud and risk, right? It's a very interesting time because I see at one point that fraud managers, for example, your team can also utilize AI to sort of get better with capturing fraud and risk.
Yeah.
But on the same time, there's also a risk, right? That fraudsters also have access to this AI. And what also they mentioned in the panel today in the morning was that what if they start getting access to our fingerprints or things like that, right? That's also scary for us, like as a consumer, for me, for example.
Yeah.
So how do you see yourself integrating AI into your team's role? Because I don't think AI is going to replace the team. That's not happening.
Yeah.
But I think it will help them, right?
Yes, I think from a productivity side, definitely will help the internal team. And I think there are two perspectives on how we use AI. One is that really the machine learning there. In the past, when we do the fraud management, we set certain behavior pattern, and we believe that once you let's say fit for these patterns, it will trigger any actions blocking you or getting to manual review, things like that. But with the machine learning, you basically anticipate that the fraudster will also evolve their behaviors. So today they are doing this, tomorrow they will change their behavior. And that's why, using the machine learning can help us to really identify those, let's say, fraudster in the early stage there. So that's one perspective. And another perspective in using AI is that you also help the merchant gain a holistic view of their decisions there. If I set my, let's say, country for Germany, the risk appetite is at really risk averse. What does that mean to my fraud KPI? What does that mean to my conversion KPI? What does that mean to the consumer frictionless experience there? What does that mean to the cost? If all of that, my one single decision on the risk level can also generate the incremental impact to other KPIs. For merchants, this is the most user-friendly way of that. And if they can learn from that, the AI can learn from that and recommend me in future, hey, we do know that in the past that when your risk level is setting in this way, your conversion is really the maximized level. So we recommend you now is to do X, Y, Z there. So, that will really help merchant balancing the act of, let's say, the consumer experience, conversion, cost, and efficiency there.
No, cool. I mean, that's valuable insights for anyone listening, right? But with that, I would like to thank you. Thank you, Shay, as in Chinese, you say Shay.
Yeah, thank you.
So one of the biggest themes at MPE this year was the shift towards digital wallets and embedded finance. This makes sense because consumers want seamless transactions at the end of the day, but regulations and infrastructures need to keep up. Second most important thing I noticed is AI-powered fraud detection is like one of the hottest topics. It makes sense because there are two folds, as we also heard Jürgen say that. The first fold is basically detecting the bad guys. We're making sure that they are not able to steal information, data, and so on about customers. And the second most important thing in the same thing is they're able to identify who's a good customer. Then they're able to offer like more loyalty bonuses, better offers, better discounts, better paybacks, and so on, to these loyal customers. At the same time, there is a big challenge in this, right? Which is it is balancing security with user experience, because you need to make sure that the data is protected, it's not stolen, it's not basically mishandled, it is handled in the correct way. It's not everyone gets access to it. So how do you take care of that? At the end of the day, the question really becomes, how do you stop fraudsters without making the transactions actually more complicated? Now, coming to an end of the episode, this was truly an insightful event. It was super cool to understand how fintech or payments in general or finance is actually integrating AI, how they're integrating the latest technologies to actually enhance user experience and also basically build better tools to protect their consumers at the end of the day. So the consumer who's spending online, who's buying online, because we need to be sure that we are able to protect the customer, right? The data is secure and so on. I will definitely be keeping an eye on how these trends actually pan forward, because I think these are super cool trends. These are actually going to change industries. These are actually going to empower and accelerate a lot of development in these industries, in fintech, payments, and also e-commerce, just to name a few. Let me know in the comments, what was your biggest learning if you were at the conference MPE, or if there's something you would like to see in the next MPE, because this was super interesting for me. Until next time, this is your host Majid signing off.